In today's video, we're going to be drawing a traditional style Japanese food dog. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I am Daggett, this is Daggett Designs, and in today's video, like I said, we're going to be covering a Japanese style food dog, also known as a lion, or in Japanese, a Komainu. Now these are a really popular character in a lot of Asian countries within their folklore. Specifically, Japan has a lot of it within their artwork, but also China. I know Korea has their versions of this. This is a really popular character, and it's one of my favorite subject matters across Japanese styles of art. That having been said, let's jump straight into today's video by going to the overhead. Okay guys, welcome back to the table. So to start today's video, I've got a few different pieces of paper here. I've got a sketch pad, which we're going to be doing some up close sort of detail work, so I can explain to you guys step by step the process on how we draw this. I've also got an A3 piece of sketch paper that I've just folded in half to get A4 size. This will be for our final sketch. And I've also got a mechanical pencil and an eraser, as always, in case we make mistakes. You can of course use whatever pencil you have. So we'll be starting this one off with our main sketch, and we're going to go ahead and start adding in our most basic shapes. So to start this one out, you're going to draw in an oval shape somewhere around the bottom of your page, like this. Coming off the back of your oval shape, you're going to arch over in this direction with a curved line, and you're going to curve back in this direction. And at the end of this curve here, it's going to turn into another oval. This oval should be larger than your first oval. Just like this. And off the back of that oval, you're going to come in with an S curve. Just like that. Okay, to start blocking in areas for facial features, we're just going to add some contour lines, so wrapping around our curve there, or our oval there, with a center line, and coming across the front of it with a curved line also. You can drop in two oval shapes just underneath this, on either side of your center line. This will give you a placement for your eyes. You're going to drop a circle just below this, with two smaller circles off to each side for placement of your nose. Two sort of larger oval shapes underneath this that will give you your cheek shapes. And then just underneath this, you're going to draw an oval and a bigger oval behind it like this. And to put in a spot for the ears, you're just going to drop in these little sort of like diamond shapes, these elongated diamond shapes like this, and partial of one on the other side. Okay, so to link up your body, I'm just going to bring a line forward and down from our oval that's at the back here, and from the other side we're just going to come down and around. These shapes are real basic and blocky, and they'll be refined at a later stage. To drop in our first paw, we're going to come down from this area here, which is the shoulder. I'm going to drop a line down and then forward, and just round the end off and come back behind the head there, like that. Really simple block shapes. On the other side, you're going to come down like this, just behind the ear. Come down a little bit, and then drop a little semicircle in at the bottom of this, like that. For our back legs, we are going to come off of our big circle. This is like the hips, so that's the joint, and the other joint would sit somewhere behind there. So we're going to come off of this like this. That'll sort of join back up into there. Create like a knee joint. and then just round the end off. Like this. Now it's important to make these areas nice and bulky. We want nice thick legs and, you know, large sort of features, big paws, that sort of thing. The other leg is going to be mostly obscured. It's going to be sort of tucked underneath the body. We're just going to put in a little sort of semicircle shape for part of the paw that's going to be visible underneath the body here. Just jumping over to my sketchbook for a second to give you guys a little bit better of a look at some of the more detailed parts, and I'll break them down nicely so that they're easier to follow. So we're going to start by putting in the paws. So to draw in the paws, I usually block them out with a simple rounded shape. So this will be an inside paw where you can see the paw pad, and I'll do an outer paw over here. Okay, so that's just the simple sort of starting shapes that we do. The second step to this, I'll just drop in those block shapes again, is to draw in the shape of the individual toes or claws, whatever you'd like to call them. This is for front paws. Back paws are exactly the same, but you're going to leave out the dew claw. So just dropping in these little ovals, and you want them to arc with the shape of the paw. So these two are going to be slightly lower, and the two center ones will be a little bit closer aligned. If you are adding a dew claw to this, you come down to one side. That's the side that your thumb would normally be on. And you just drop in another little oval like that. This is the outer paw, so we'll do the same thing to drop in our guidelines, and the dew claw will be sitting about here. For the back paws, I usually leave the dew claw out. Okay, and step 3 for this is adding in your little details. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to come from the left side of our paw here with a curved line. That's going to come up using curved lines and around our little oval. You're going to put a little curved peak in that's going to be one of the claws. Follow your oval back around to complete that sort of front part of the toe. And then I just like to add another little curved line in to create a bit of that, you know, patty sort of texture on the inside of the paw. Bring in another curved line around. Dropping in another claw shape. Rounding that bottom off. And then I do a little W curve underneath it like that. And you're basically repeating this process around each of the toes or fingers of your paw shape. Like this. For the dew claw, we're going to come in from the opposite side. But the technique remains the same. You join them up, you can just drop in a curve. And then I like to complete this by bringing a couple of little lines around the bottom, just a couple little curved lines that complete that sort of paw pad shape. It has that little shape at the bottom like that. And this will give you the inside section of the paw. To do the outside, it's very similar. I like to drop in a little curve like this. That is where the toes are sort of bending. And you're going to come in and first do your dew claw using these little curved lines, and again using these little W's, and adding in your little curved peaks for each claw. Like this. And then of course you can just add a little bit of fur texture or something like that coming across it, linking it up into the rest of the arm. So this would be the inside of the paw, and this would be the back or the outside of the paw. Okay, so the next step of your full design here would be to go ahead and draw in the shape for your paws. So I like to put in my little ovals, and I'll do one here on camera for you. Put in the little ovals, put in the space for my dew claw, and then you can go about constructing each section of your claws the same way that we did in the section we just did. Like that. Okay, so the other note that's really important to cover is hair. doing the hair correctly on a food dog, in my opinion, is what will make or break the design, basically. When I'm looking at food dogs or pretty much any Japanese artwork that has similar style hair, the big curls of hair, that's something that I look at and sort of, you know, I judge pretty heavily, because I think that's a really important element of these designs. Okay, there's going to be two main styles of hair that we're doing. One of them is going to be the curls. So we're going to start with just a little curl like this, or a little swirl, and the other will be the sort of long wavy hairs. So we're going to start with two waves or S-curves that come to a peak. Okay, second to this, what we're going to do is start at the center of our curl again. We're going to follow our line around and out, and you do that one more time, and then just starting from the center, you can come out like this. Now you want these lines to be of varying thickness when you do your line work, so sometimes it helps to sketch that in just by darkening up some of those lines, but you want to vary the thickness. So I usually have this larger curl nice and thick, and the lines on the inside of these a little bit thinner, but I like to make sure there's some variance in the line weight. The last sort of section for doing these hair curls that I think is really important, once you've done your sort of main curls in there, would be to be able to trail this off into the next sort of section of hair. So the way we do that is coming off the back of this with a curve that comes around. I can then do a little peak that joins into that, and you can continue that pattern, just creating some irregularities in length and that, continuing that pattern down into the next section of hair, and it's a good way to link up these curls. Okay, so how do we do our wavy hairs? We're going to essentially follow the exact shape and structure of the outer lines of our peak there. Just following there, putting in as many lines as you would like. Now these should be of varying thickness as well. Try and give them a little bit of variety and show a little bit more depth. At the bottom here, to try and link these off into other areas, you can follow the curves back, linking them at the bottom. Split this off into its own sort of strand, and you can of course add some detail to that as well. And then you can build off of this the same way that we did the curly hair, just by adding these little secondary sort of areas of hair that will link it into the next section. Okay, so aside from our main sketch, these are the important details, and I've got these notes saved, and they are in the class notes section of your membership if you are part of my YouTube memberships program. If you'd like to join, there is a link in the description down below. Okay, so to start adding detail to our face here, we're going to start with the eyes. So just adding these loops like this above the eyes. These are like C shapes. And then you can add a secondary loop just underneath that as well. And there's going to be a section for our hair curls. We're just doing these eyebrows. So just bringing a curl around like that, and then adding those little sections that trail off underneath our eyebrow area there. And you're going to do that same thing on both sides. To do your nose, you're going to come up following the shape of your nose, and then sort of whip it off at the end like that. And then you're going to add this little W curve in just behind that area. Coming around from the left side, you're going to loop around like this, adding in a little shape for a nostril, and then do the same thing sort of coming out from the other side to give you your other nostril. For doing your eyes, you're basically going to cut across the bottom like this, link that side up, and then come around. You're just tracing basically those ovals that you already drew in and making adjustments if necessary. You can add a pupil in, and I like to add 2 rings to this. So you can drop your pupil and then add 2 rings to it if you'd like. To do your mouth area, or your sort of the muzzle sort of area, you can go ahead and start on the outer edge of this, adding in a curl, and basically doing the same method as your eyebrows there. And then just coming up to the center and doing the same thing on the other side. To link this portion of the cheek, you just come down from behind the other eye with a little W curve like that. Now to do the teeth, you're going to start by adding a little peak and then doing these little square shapes, 5 or 6 of them. That's 3, 6. I like to keep them even. And then add another little triangle or peak at the end. This top line of our circle down here will mirror this little peak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another peak like that. I'm going to cut across this with a curved line and double up on it to add a lip like this. And then you're going to do a little wavy line that comes back like this. Once you bring that line down and curve around the back there, you're going to add in a larger tooth. I like to add a pretty big tooth with a little squiggle down the middle, just for detail. And then you can go ahead and add these little teeth at the bottom, the same way you did them for the top and bottom row, going back into the mouth. Behind all this, you're going to add a little curved shape like that with a line in the center. Double up on your wavy line and add another little line in the center. This will give you the tongue on the inside of the mouth. Now to add detail and texture to the outside of our mouth here, we're going to give him some more sort of beard hair. So we're going to come around with another curl of hair like this. And then drop that down following the shape of our circle that we did. Linking it up into the jaw. You can add another curl at this point and then bring those hairs up and around the mouth section there. Above this, I like to just add another couple of smaller curled sections of hair to sort of complete that area of the mouth. Drawing in your ears is pretty straightforward. You're basically going to link up the top line of your shape there, smoothing out the top edge. At the bottom, you're going to come out like this and do a couple of sort of loose hair areas there. And then you're going to double up on this top line using your hair texture that we just learned and coming around. This will give it a soft sort of textured look. Once you've drawn in your ear shapes, it's pretty straightforward to just drop in the head. You're basically going to do a W curve to the center and a W curve back down to the other ear. Now at this point, you can go ahead and start adding in hair. Now adding in hair for your mane is it's a pretty simple process, but it does take a bit of playing around to figure out how you want it to look and what you find aesthetically pleasing in this instance. But you're basically going to add your little curls of hair around the outside shape of your head. So I just like to bring these little curls around the outer shape of the head, the same way that we've been doing it this whole time. Alright, once you've put in as many curls of hair as you would like, you can start adding in your flowing hair or your wavy hair the exact same way that I showed you in the sketchbook back there in the notes. So you're basically going to add these sections of flowing hair. Depending on the direction you have your wind or background sort of flowing in, will determine which way your hair blows. But get creative with it. You can sort of make it look a bit crazy and it will still look fine. Alright, now in talking about doing these hair curls, you're going to go ahead and add the same hair curls to the elbow areas of your front paws. Okay, once you've added the hair curls to your front paws, we can start working on the sort of back end of the body here. There's not going to be too much. Of course, you can add as much of these hair curls as you'd like to your design, so you can go crazy and add them all over your foo dog. I'm just going to do a little bit at the base of the tail here before we start working on the tail. So just coming in and adding these curls of hair the curls that I put on the main part of the body are usually a little bit bigger as well. So we're going to strengthen our S-curve up here, because that's going to be a solid line that goes and joins into the body. And then starting at the sort of top area here, we're going to add in a curl. And we're going to sort of follow that back a little bit before adding another one. And now we're just going to follow that back, adding a little bit of variance to your line until you reach the base of the body there. And that's going to be the first sort of row of hair of the tail. You can do a row behind this as well, making the curls a little bit bigger if you would like. This allows you to get a little bit more detail and just go a little bit more crazy with the design of your hairs. And like I said, foo dogs are all about fur and hairs. You're going to start bringing them down less and less. So I'm actually going to erase part of that, because I was talking and not thinking, and I'm going to bring that down a little bit so that there's this little gap where the tail gets a bit thinner. And I might add one more curl in here, like this. At the sort of front area of the tail, I'm going to curl the other way and bring some hairs around the other side like this. And you can of course continue to add in hair curls on this side to bulk it out a little bit as well. Once you've bulked out the main areas of your tail, you're going to sort of start tapering them a little bit. So just adding a little bit of bulk in the topmost area of it, but not really touching this area at the bottom. So just by adding in a few more sort of curls of hair with parts sort of coming off them, you can bulk out this top section a bit more. And then you're going to add in your flowing, wavy sections of hair. Again, coming off in the same direction as your background elements or the wind, depending on which way your tail is flowing. Alright, and last thing we're going to do before lining this is to go ahead and add some sort of pattern work to your body. So there's all sorts of different ones. I think traditionally they put spots on the body. So I like to just add these big circles, cutting some of them off with the edges of our foo dog and varying them in size, of course, also. So you can go ahead and add spots to any areas that are not concealed by your curly hairs. And this is like, I guess, the shorter areas of fur. And you can add as many or as little of these as you'd like. And of course you can go with a different pattern. I have seen them done with different patterns, but I'm trying to sort of stick to a real traditional way of doing them. So that way you get a good foundation and you can go ahead and change them to your liking. Okay, so in this case we are done with the sketch. Of course you can add a background if you'd like, and you can add some flowers or something like that to it. We're going to stick with this for now because there is quite a bit here to go through. And I've also got a sheet of A4 watercolor paper. This is Fabriano cold press watercolor paper. It's 300 GSM and it's a medium tooth. We're going to go ahead and transfer this design onto our watercolor paper using a light pad and these fine liners. They're in varying sizes. I've got a 1.2, a 0.8 and a 0.5. So the idea of that is to get different line weight variations within the hairs of the foo dog, and then using the nice sort of thick 1.2 we can do those big body areas and contours. Now I am going to be using a light pad to transfer this. If you don't have one, you can go ahead and tape your design up to a window, let the light shine through it and you can trace through there. Or optionally you can get your iPhone torch or your smartphone torch, turn it on, put it underneath a glass table, and the light will shine up through the table and act just like a light pad. That having been said, I'm going to go ahead and trace this across now and we can get into painting. Okay, so it's now time to go ahead and start painting this. I've transferred our line work onto watercolor paper and we are going to be using Liquitex acrylic inks as always. Now, a quick thing I'd like to mention is if you haven't tried Liquitex acrylic inks, they are absolutely fantastic for painting tattoo flash or just painting in general. I've enjoyed using these for a long time now. They get very professional results and I've had a lot of people tell me their success stories after switching over to the acrylic inks. Now, there is a link in the description down below where you can buy carbon black. There is also a link where you can get the acrylic inks essential set, which basically comes with a few of your primary colors and a bottle of black, a bottle of white, and I believe either a raw sienna or a raw burnt umber. A burnt umber. You'll need to check that, but there's a link in the description. Both of these are affiliate links, so if you do decide to go with Liquitex ink, please make sure to go through my links. It helps support the channel, and I make a small commission from each sale. So just going through my palette here, I have Cerulean blue in solid, and I've also created a Cerulean blue wash by adding a drop of blue with some water. I've got some transparent raw sienna here, which is like a yellowy golden sort of color. I've got a drop of Pyrrole red, we're only using a little bit, and a little bit of our carbon black as well. Along with this, I've got a glass of water for blending and for washing out my brushes. And I'll be using 3 different brushes. I'll be using them for different areas. I'll be using the largest brush, which is a size 8, for the large area on the body for doing a wash. And the smaller brushes are for applying ink and for blending them. Alright, so we're starting out with our biggest brush and our Cerulean blue wash. I'm going to spin this guy around, and we're basically going to fill in the largest area of the body using our blue wash here. So I'm going to load the brush up nice and heavily, get it nicely saturated, and I'm going to work around my circles. So as you can see, I've done these circles with perforated lines, just with using dots, and I'm going to paint around these using my blue wash here. Now, it is going to get darker than this once we apply a couple more layers. Don't worry too much about that now, but we're just applying a nice blue wash around our circles and covering our whole body. Okay, once you've done this, I'm going to turn the page again, and we're going to go now into our solid carbon black, and we're going to do a little bit of black shading over the top of our blue here. So just coming in off this edge here, we're going to apply a little bit of our carbon black. Taking a blending brush and just gently blending that down. Now, if you've already done a color, sometimes blending over the top of that color can be a little bit difficult. Just takes a little bit more work. There we go. A little bit of that gray just coming through like that. A little bit of carbon black along this edge will give it a little bit of shape and shadow as we bring that color through. Once you've done a bit of black off that side of the body, you're going to come down the arm and do the same thing. Just starting up on the shoulder here with a little bit of black. And gently blending that down. As you can see, we get some nice contrast between that really light sort of blue tone and our darker areas of shadow. So just blending that forward. Making sure you work around your spots. Just like that. Basically, wherever you feel like it needs a bit of shadow and a bit more depth, you can go ahead and add in your carbon black. Just blending that out to a gray. Okay, now that you've laid in your light blue wash and your black shading, this is when it starts to get really cool. I'm going to turn the page around again just to give me some more better leverage on our angles here. And I'm going to take some of our solid Cerulean blue here. Load my brush up nicely. And I'm going to come off the back of those areas where I did my black, layering straight over the top of our black. Just like this. And coming down into the main part of our body. And take your blending brush and blend that blue down into your light blue that you already have laid down there. And you'll do this pretty much for all of the sections that are solid black, is go over them with your Cerulean blue. Just like that. And then using a blending brush, blending that blue down until it blends in with your light blue that you already laid down, that wash color that you already laid down. Now while you're at this, you're going to add some areas of solid cerulean blue where you may not necessarily have put a lot of the solid black or grey shading, but you feel like it requires a little bit of a shadow. You can go ahead and add a bit of the cerulean blue and just blend it out as well. Alright, now once you've done all of your darker areas of blue, we're going to go ahead and start working with the red. There's only a few small areas we're going to do. So first things first, taking a bit of your Pyrrole red, just solid, and painting in the tongue. I like to just leave a little bit of a white gap around the border there, and same goes for the other side. And just painting in the inside part of the tongue as well. Now I'm going to turn my page a little bit here, and I'm just doing a tiny little dot of red in the corner of each of our eyes, like that. And then I'm going to blend that forward a little bit into our eye. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just a little touch of red. And then very gently blending that forward. I'm going to use that same little technique we just did for the inside of the ears, just a little bit of red in the corner, the back of the ear, and then blending that out to a pink and eventually into white. This will lighten it up and give it more of a subtle pink tone. You do that for both of the ears. And we're going to do a very similar technique with our paws as well. So starting at the base of the paw, or the paw pad, you can do solid Pyrrole red. And then with your blending brush, you're just going to blend that up and through the base of your paw there. And you're going to do it up into each sort of claw area on the bottom half as well. And you're just trying to keep this at a nice sort of pink tone. So really blending that red out with your water. For the areas that are sort of only showing the upper side of the paw, you're still going to see a little bit of red. So I just take a little bit of water on my brush and dilute the red so that it's more of a pink. And I do just that little visible spot on the bottom of the paw there. We're not blending anything out from red, we're just applying a little bit of that pink. Okay, I'm just washing out my brush, and the last thing we're going to do is take a little bit of our transparent raw sienna, and we're going to use that to do the hair. There's no specific way of doing this. You're pretty much just doing solid blocks of color over the top of our hair strands. So this is probably the easiest part of all of it. There are some little clever techniques which I will show you in a moment on how to give this a little bit more detail and depth. But I think most of the time when these are tattooed or painted for tattooing, especially at this size, you pretty much just do solid whatever color the hair is over the top of your hair sort of curls and bundles. And that looks pretty good to me. So we're just going over the top of all of our hair using our chosen hair color. Of course, you can choose a different color for your hair. Get creative with it. It depends what color you want the mane to be and what color you want the rest of the hair to be. So you can go ahead and get creative with that. You know, don't feel like you have to copy my videos exactly to a T. The idea of my videos is to give you guys a solid foundation to follow in terms of structure and line work and shape, so that you can then create your own artwork. It's not about copying my art and doing everything exactly the same as I do it. The idea is to improve your own art using the techniques and the little tricks that I show you throughout my tutorials. Now, something you can do, which I think is only really necessary for larger designs, is take your dry areas of your raw sienna here, and you can go ahead and just apply or reapply over the top between some of the sort of hair strands. And what this will do is darken up some of them. So some of them will be lighter and some of them will have a darker tone. Now, depending on the color, you can also do this using a mid-gray to go over and create these darker areas. But you're basically going through and darkening strands so that it doesn't have such a flat look to it. Gives it a little bit more detail and a little bit more sort of shading, you know, a bit more color and a bit more detail is always good. Now, of course, if you want to keep this super simple, you don't have to do this step. Sometimes I'll do it and sometimes I won't. It just depends how I want the design to look. And, you know, depends what I'm focusing on at the time. Sometimes I'm focusing on trying to simplify my artwork, make it look more traditional. Sometimes I'm looking to make my designs more elaborate and make them look more detailed. So it depends what you're after at that specific time. That is it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it and I really hope you give this one a go. I think our foo dog painting here turned out really nice. It's got some beautifully vibrant colors and looks really traditional, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure to head over to Instagram and Facebook. The link is in the description. The handle is @DaggettDesigns, where you can see my online portfolio and you can see some behind the scenes stuff and upcoming projects and YouTube updates. Make sure to leave a comment in the section down below letting me know what you'd like to see in future videos, what kind of tutorials you want to see, or if you want to see more tips and tricks style videos, I can go ahead and make some of those also. While you're down there, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. For members, the class notes for this particular tutorial and for all of the tutorial will be in the class notes section of your memberships. There is a link down below if you'd like to join and support the channel. It is much appreciated. Most importantly, if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit that notification bell so you never miss videos when they come out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Keep up the drawing. See you later. Bye.